If I can define what Cyberpunk is in one sentence and one quote, then there's only one quote that always came in mind for me that can redefine what Cyberpunk truly is. And that is that Cyberpunk is a rose that grew out of concrete. Nothing can be said more true if it comes to this franchise. Knowing where Cyberpunk started in 2020, the horrific start it had, the simple insult to the gaming community, the way this game was released, because for those who do not know, Cyberpunk at release was simply unplayable. Fast forward, different patches has came from this game. Stability is more a fact now if it comes to the game, and replayability factor is literally a fact now. The story is even more strengthening and more engaging than ever. Cyberpunk 2077 is the definition of what a rose that grew out of concrete really is. As I'm writing this review and my thoughts if it comes to what truly defines a game of the year, for action games I choose personally Cyberpunk as the game of the year. I know for a lot of gamers it can be Baldur's Gate 3, oh hell, for other gamers can even be Halo 3, it can even Smash Bros 64. The thing is about a game of the year is a personal thought and it's a personal note, and it's always going to be individually and it's always going to be different for every single game that's out there. But I'd like to see that in this tier list the evolution of a game from where it started and where it is now, in the form of replayability, the fun factor and your experience just being in that game, that marked it for me that Cyberpunk 2077 is literally the game of the year. I know I'm not picking Cyberpunk just purely for Phantom Liberty itself, in which I personally gave it a perfect score. Just the sheer thoughts and experience that you had and the choices that you had to choose in which direction you wanted to go into the game, and every single one of them was heartbreaking as the other one. Combining that with the enhanced gameplay, new mechanics, and of course an increased level of replayability, this just solidified my thoughts if it comes to what makes Cyberpunk so special beyond every single game out there. As I'm speaking right now, I'm already at my 4th and my 5th playthrough of the game itself, and every single playthrough that I've done in Cyberpunk has always been differently. I played equally with the male and female V itself, and equally are amazing, and every playthrough I go through is always differently. And one playthrough I play like the Terminator himself, and the other one I play like a Netrunner, or I play like a born shinobi itself, where I cut every single person out there with my mantis blades or my katana before they even hit the ground. With the patches that came before 2.0 and every single thing that came afterwards, Cyberpunk 2077 is a game like no other. And I have to say, Night City is literally my favorite city in any single video game out there. Night City itself is a brutal and grim place, but also extremely beautiful. Whatever it's through its neo glow of the Night City itself, or its beautiful Blade Runner-esque sandstorms that is rolling in. Since its first launch, the one thing I do have to admit, CDPR has jammed it with so many visual upgrades that the path tracing tech of Cyberpunk 2077 is genuinely the most graphical advanced game on the market right now. On max settings with path tracing on, nothing can touch it. That's literally a fact. If it comes to the protagonist of the game itself, V is my favorite playable character in video games. This mainly due to the fantastic work of, my apologies ma'am if I pronounce your game wrongly, Shirami Lei, giving an equivalent voice acting and first person narrative like never seen before. I know I'm not saying that Gavin Dre, the male version of the male V itself, doesn't do a solid work. There is something about the female V voice that makes Cyberpunk so unique if it comes to how you experience it for the very first time. And then with the addition of the true transmog of the game itself, another additional overtime, one of my favorite pastimes, is taking my V around the city itself and making beautiful snapshots, poses left and right, just exploring the beauty of Night City itself. Cyberpunk 2077 has some of the most unique and probably one of the most favorite NPCs of all time. You have heavy hitters and of course extraordinary beauties like Panam and Judy, where they are incredibly fleshed out character, not only in form of the beauty itself they are showing on the screen itself, but just the simple depth of the character that they portray in this game itself. They are not weak female ladies, they are not the damsel in distress, they're just them. They are Panam and they are Judy. They are strong, they are smart, and they are incredibly beautiful. And completely well-written characters that it is something that is truly missing right now in the modern woke-ish life that we are living right now. Then with Phantom Liberty arriving, we had some more powerhouses performance that came along. With Lay again, and of course the amazing Idris Elba, played as Solomon Reed. Minji Shan plays Songbird, and of course the one and only my man Keanu Reeves that plays the amazing Johnny itself, improves the entire immersion of the game itself and its DLC. And yes, Cyberpunk does have its weaknesses, and the weaknesses of mostly of Cyberpunk is made too chunky of its main storyline. I agree that the decaying chip of Nv's brain, Johnny's appearance, isn't as good as the NPC Crested line. The story of V itself and Johnny becomes a little bit tedious and very, let's say, obnoxious but boring at a certain time. You have more interesting side quests than actually the main story itself. That is unfortunate to have to say. I can say one word, for example, the Cinnamon, for instance. It's one of the wildest quests you will ever play springing to my mind right now. If you've completed it, you will know what I'm talking about. Finally, the gameplay itself. Let's talk about Cyberpunk now and from what it truly is. This was what 2.0 update transformed Cyberpunk towards what I personally thought it is a game of the year. While I thought the Cyberpunk combats and various builds you can play through right now were okay in its initial form, I cannot stress enough how thoroughly things were transformed in a patch 2.0, and every single thing came in another level, from quick hacking, from melee gunplays, and everything around it in between. From cyber tech and to new skill tree itself are an absolutely blast to tinker around and just to play around. As Cyberpunk went from an average combat system at best to one of the most fun combat sandbox I ever played. Sure, other games from Call of Duty and Destiny have a much better straight gunplay system than Cyberpunk, but this is a pure creativity that Cyberpunk brought to the table that makes this game very, very unique. My last V run just went through the whole game with nothing more than just pure knives. Knives, guys. And my Samurai V can dismantle in a full room of people before they even hit the ground. Just the idea how you can approach this game truly is based on your subconscious and your creativeness and how you want to approach this game. Now, you're still not convinced? Now, let me try to put this a little bit more into context and give you a little bit more perspective. Cyberpunk, when it first was released, it was in a very broken state, with far less than what we implied or promised by the initial advertising in the beginning. The police system was incredibly underwhelming. There was no vehicle combat, none whatsoever. There were no dynamic chase scenes, and the crowd AI was extremely silly, with the cars as well was populous as of Night City, being dumb as a brick of a bucket old shrimp. That is an additional to all the immense form of bugs and glitches that makes Bethesda games look like a fucking masterpiece. Over the 3 years in the development, CD Projekt Red have done an intense and immersive job and an amazing job at fixing an immense number of bugs that have broken the game completely, that make the game simply unplayable to play. Indeed, it was something I recommended at the start purely from the base of the story and the visual aspect where Cyberpunk was going. Who doesn't want to play a Neolithic Blade Runner-ish world? Absolutely love the concept. I'm a pure fanboy if it comes to that. With gamers and creators like Mike Ponty, tabletop RPG settings, the game steadily improved over the year and became increasingly clear that it should have never been released at last generation consoles. And that was more and obvious over the years that we saw. So fast forward in today, the 2.0, the PlayStation 5, the Xbox and Xbox S. The 2.0 update is a wholesome remake of the game itself. In many respects, with something for everyone who have already left the game to come back and replay it. The changes ranges from very small to very big, and it's truly worthwhile for every single person who maybe played it for the very first time to come back and replay it again, because it's a completely new game. Want me to put it in perspective? Now, the good thing about Cyberpunk right now, the first thing I have come to my mind is the crafting itself. It's no longer tied to a technical difficulty. Crafting was originally tied to technical skill. Now everyone can craft anything they want if they have the component as the blueprint of it. This means a lot for those who were previously stuck by doing crafting builds to get the best equipment. There is also a lot less requirement for components to do the change of the armor system itself. Talking about armor, clothing itself now are no longer armor. One of the most immersive breaking element of the game itself was wearing constructive hats, biker shorts, and leather jackets and dresses to get the maximum amount of damage resistance as possible. This is hardly unique for Cyberpunk 2077, with the improvement of the transmog system that allow players to make your character look wherever you see fit and make it unique your own. Because removing that and make sure that you didn't have a composure of ridiculous clothing altogether because you just wanted the resistance in your character. Another thing I found remarkable change that happened at 2.0 and beyond is the perk system has been completely overhauled. What you know from the start of the game itself, the first release, is completely different now. All of the characters' perks are refounded at the start of the update itself as you rebooting the game. Now, a part of an entire new skill tree, the ability are a lot more dynamic than before, with the things that like air dash, hacking vehicle, adrenaline rush, as well as cyber psychosis berserker modes. A lot of these abilities are familiar from the other games, but that hardly are a bad thing. Perks can also be refounded at will and shifted around to experiments and the different forms of builds and your playstyles how you see fit. And from a cyberware itself, cybernetic are a great expansion. The number of cybernetics you can outfit your V with significant upgrade. You can also enhance your cybernetic to a higher tier. Notable, V is limited to being able to use cybernetic to a limit of the body score, but the Edgerunner perk lets you exceed it at the cost of a brief psychosis, or let's say cyber psychosis. Another improvement is the improvement of the AI system. The various criminality and components and opponents in Night City itself are no longer nearly stupid as a buckled old shrimp. They truly are useful and engaging for you in situation you encounter in the game itself. The police system, the Night City police are no longer a terrifying moronic system that is just there to have a certain form of a police system. One of the biggest complaints that we had in the beginning of the game inside is the fact that Night City police appears out of nowhere and attack and spawns like, I don't know how to pronounce it. It was absolutely ridiculous. GTA 4 and GTA 3 even had a better police system than Cyberpunk it had. And right now, if you're playing Cyberpunk, you engage in a criminal activity, the police will engage with you however you see fit. The more police engagement you have, the more stars you get. And before you know, you're gonna have mag tags on your neck, breathing at you, helicopter chasing you, and the engagement is truly feels like you're playing in the living world. Another thing that's been enhanced and changed is the net running has been a little bit nerfed. As a legendary net runner, my basic was a psychic wizard who wandered through Night City, causing the gangs to instantly fall over without ever finding me. Now it's much more harder and easier for enemies to detect you. You can use breach per control on enemies or anymore neither. Allows you to play a little bit more tactical into the game itself. The increased vehicle combat system and car chasing into the game itself. You can now change your V appearance however you fit in the form of a transhumanization and transmog system. And the other thing, they also what I consider as a neutral aspect into the game itself. The NPC now scales to your level. What I mean with that, it is going to be a little bit controversial, but it's more true to the tabletop game. They dramatically increase the difficulty of the game, but not the way it is directly bad. You will never be lacking for challenging when dealing with enemies, assault or criminal progress across the map. So how you cost and level, the enemies around you also increase the level difficulty itself. All Ripper dogs now have cybernetics. There is not one because I love to visit that Ripper dog to get that form of cybernetic. All Ripper dogs have a certain amount of cybernetic that you want to have, so it's equal across the board. Changes to your cell phone and journal. Some minor tweaks have been made to make journal and cell phone less cluttering. I didn't find it personally that bad, but they tweaked it in a little way that is a little bit less obnoxious. You have new radio stations into the game itself for you to enjoy, especially in Night City itself. And of course, the bad thing into this game, I cannot go praising the game all over the place without naming the few bad things the game has. And one of them, of course, is the vendor. Vendors no longer having crafting components. The game longevity has been expanded by the fact that you can only get crafting components by dismantling weapons among other equipments. I really wish I bought a bunch of components in the beginning before the updates. NPCs no longer drop clothing. And of course the bugs, even though lots of them have been removed, there are still noticeable small bugs left and right into the game itself that is noticeable and can be sometimes annoying. Now you've been wondering how does Cyberpunk truly performs right now in the DLC and of course the update of 2.1. There's a lot of things we can go in details explaining how the performance is if it comes to Cyberpunk itself. But a few key insights I will try to summarize and my best of my ability to explain the visual aspects, the performance of the game itself and the stability overall of Cyberpunk. The new expansion and DLC for Cyberpunk has a strong resemblance, of course, as we know, as for Snake Plissken Escape from New York, adding an exciting new flavor to the game itself. The ray tracing mode in Cyberpunk 2077 offer a resolution advantage, making the thin wire foliage and the small details look significantly more stable compared to the performance mode. On the PlayStation 5 tends to have a better travel and streaming performance compared to Xbox X and Cyberpunk 2077. The increased AI and combat and dense area of the NPCs in Cyberpunk 2077 middle of the night city on both PlayStation 5, Xbox presents a lock on the stable 30 FPS presentation, offering a consistent mode with high image and quality frame rates. The quality mode in Cyberpunk 2077 on Xbox S offers a significant better image quality and more consistent frame rate, making it a recommended choice for players who are playing on the Xbox Series S. The PC version, which is the best version to play Cyberpunk itself, offers a significant more impactful visual than the Xbox X, and the PlayStation do its way the light is calculated and bounce around the scenery itself. The ray tracing in Cyberpunk 2077 further the impacts of the performance mode due to the travel and the building of data required or lower or end machined to make a cutback or use of DLS to achieve the playback frame rates. PC across the board offers the best gaming experience for Cyberpunk 2077, allowing players to customize the settings and achieve groundbreaking results and visual performances. It's very clear among every different testing that we have done, playing on the PC version of Cyberpunk is clearly the best choice you have if it comes to the visual aspects. It's clearly that the DLSS 3.5 and the DLA worked out great in almost all the testing we have done with our settings itself. And I'm speaking about a PC of 390 Ti desktop. The ability of technology to maintain a high quality graphic will deliver a high average of FPS, allowing gamers to make use of ray tracing at max graphic settings on the Nvidia powered GPU. For those who do not necessarily like the idea of replacing actual game engine frames with an AI generated graphics, the next best thing of course to use is in DLSS 3.5 ray tracing enabled. This combined can also provide a decent FPS and 2K and a 4K resolution. Both Nvidia RTX 480 mobile and RTX 470 desktop are quite capable of doing that, so long you have of course the power generated on your PC itself. But if you're using a new DLSS 3.5 upscaling technology, further helps them out in making Cyberpunk Night City look better than ever seen before. Gamers can also enjoy ray tracing in Cyberpunk 2077 and its Phantom Liberty DLC without sacrificing on the graphical quality or performance with the help of the right set of Nvidia technology. You can easily push the performance of Cyberpunk 2077 and its DLC if you don't want the game at the maximum possible graphical quality itself. Overall, if it comes to a game of the year and Cyberpunk itself as an individual review, I have to say, if I look at Cyberpunk right now, and of course look from where it came from the first dramatic release it started in 2020, and how this game has improved himself with the new update of 2.1, where it adds a tons of romantic partners to hang out, player choices, and of course metro stations, new radios, stations for you to listen for dope beats, left and right different memes, more lore for you to explore, races that you can replay as you see fit, and tons more things have been added into the patch 2.1. I have to say, if it comes to a game itself, Cyberpunk truly is in the best place ever. If you never played Cyberpunk before, I definitely recommend you to come to Cyberpunk, enjoy your first playthrough into this game itself, and enjoy an adventure like you never seen before. The game is beautiful, it's stable, and of course it's more engaging than ever for you to play when it comes to a game itself. As a form of a game of the year, every single game is differently, and every player choice is always differently. For me, a form of replayability, the world building itself, and of course the beauty of this game itself, because I have to be said that City is one of the most beautiful games I ever played and city I ever played in. A Cyberpunk 2077 is definitely for me and Ashen Games the game of the year of 2023. you agree with me or disagree with me, definitely let me know on the comments down below. I'm your host, the Asher Lord Memnon itself. Welcome to my gaming channel, the Ashen Games, where of course I can try to give you at my best ability your updates to your latest games in form of let's plays, gameplay walkthroughs, and review itself. Thank you for choosing this channel, of course, if it comes to this podcast review, if it comes to Cyberpunk 2077, and hopefully I can see you all very, very soon until the next installment. Take care, one love, merci beaucoup, à plus, ciao ciao.